Welcome back to Mass Effect. JC here, and in our second point 0.5 episode, we have more of the Codex. You will hear in the background the tunes that you have been hearing in the previous episode, because I'm still standing in that room that we finished on. Yeah, we're still on the surface of Feros. Yes. I haven't moved on, I'm just doing the Codex. So we've got a new one in here. So we'll start where standard issue, we'll go from the top and we'll do all the blinky ones. And then we move on to the secondary ones where you have to suffer my reading.
After the Geth secure, Varen are omnivores with a preference for living prey. Originally native to the Krogan homeworld of Tuchanka, they are, like most life from Tuchanka, savage, clannish, and consummate survivors. They are pack hunters when vulnerable prey is readily available, and become scavengers when outnumbered or outclassed. Their supreme adaptability, vicious demeanor, and rapid breeding cycle have made them ubiquitous and dangerous pests on many worlds. Virtually everywhere the Krogan have been, Varen infestations have followed, wreaking havoc with the native ecology. The Krogan have had a love-hate relationship with Varen for millennia, alternately fighting them for territory and embracing them as treasured companions. To this day, Krogan raise them as beasts of war. One of the common subgenus of Varen has metallic silver scales, leading to the rather unusual nickname, fish dogs.
Right. Now, hopefully this time round, you can actually hear him talking. Yeah, I found out in editing he was a bit quiet last time. If we do have any problems, I can't really raise the volume any high because voices are maxed. So, hopefully the difference between this guy talking and me talking is not too much.
Biotics is the ability of rare individuals to manipulate dark energy and create mass effect fields through the use of electrical impulses from the brain. Intense training and surgically implanted amplifiers are necessary for a biotic to produce mass effect fields powerful enough for practical use. The relative strength of biotic abilities varies greatly among species and with each individual. There are three branches of biotics. Telekinesis uses mass-lowering fields to levitate or impel objects. Mass-raising kinetic fields are used to block or pin objects. Spatial distortion uses rapidly shifting mass fields to shred objects. Most organic species are capable of developing biotic abilities, though there are risks involved. Biotics are the result of an in utero exposure to element 0. This usually causes fatal cancers in the victim, but in rare cases, it coalesces into nodules within the fetus's developing nervous system.
In essence, it ain't nice. Now then, these sections. An example of telekinesis abilities is lift or throw. Kinetic fields is barrier. Distortion is warp. My class doesn't have the warp ability, but it's not nice. The description of the warp ability is rapidly shifting mass effect fields that shred the object. That's pretty much what warp does. It's a damage over time ability. Crucially, stops health regeneration. Berserking Krogans do not like warp. Neither do they particularly like incendiary ammo.
An artificial intelligence is a self-aware computing system capable of learning and independent decision-making. Creation of a conscious AI requires adaptive code, a slow, expensive education, and a specialized quantum computer called a blue box. An AI cannot be transmitted across a communication channel or computer network. Without its blue box, An AI is no more than data files. Loading these files into a new blue box will create a new personality, as variations in the quantum hardware and runtime results create unpredictable variations. The Geths serve as a cautionary tale against the dangers of rogue AI, and in Citadel space, they are technically illegal. Advocacy groups argue, however, that an AI is a living, conscious entity, deserving the same rights as organics. They argue that continued use of the term artificial is institutionalized racism on the part of organic life. The term synthetic is considered the politically correct alternative.
With your political correctness. Ugh. We have enough of that problems as it is without it being in my games.
When subjected to an electrical current, the rare material dubbed Element Zero, or EZO, emits a dark energy field that raises or lowers the mass of all objects within it. This mass effect is used in countless ways, from generating artificial gravity to manufacturing high-strength construction materials. It is most prominently used to enable faster-than-light space travel. EZO is generated when solid matter, such as a planet, is affected by the energy of a star going supernova. The material is common in the asteroid debris that orbits neutron stars and pulsars. These are dangerous places to mine, requiring extensive use of robotics, telepresence, and shielding to survive the incredible radiation from the dead star. Only a few major corporations can afford the setup costs required to work these primary sources. Humanity discovered refined Element Zero at the Prothean Research Station on Mars, allowing them to create mass effect fields and develop FTL travel. Element Zero can increase or decrease the mass of a volume of space-time when subjected to an electrical current. With a positive current, mass is increased. With a negative current, mass is decreased. The stronger the current, the greater the magnitude of the dark energy mass effect. In space, low-mass fields allow FTL travel and inexpensive surface-to-orbit transit. High-mass fields create artificial gravity and push space debris away from vessels. In manufacturing, low-mass fields permit the creation of evenly blended alloys, while high-mass compaction creates dense, sturdy construction materials. The military makes extensive use of mobility-enhancing technologies, with mass effect utilizing fighting vehicles standard frontline issue in most military forces. Mass effect fields are also essential in the creation of kinetic barriers or shields to protect against enemy fire. Omni-tools are handheld devices that combine a computer microframe, sensor analysis pack, and manufacturing fabricator. Versatile and reliable, an Omni-tool can be used to analyze and adjust the functionality of most standard equipment, including weapons and armor, from a distance. The fabrication module can rapidly assemble small three-dimensional objects from common reusable industrial plastics, ceramics, and light alloys. This allows for field repairs and modifications to most standard items, as well as the reuse of salvaged equipment. Omni-tools are standard issue for soldiers and first-in colonists.
Basically, you got a 3D printer in your arm. Kind of handy. Right, that's Oh no, we're not quite done.
Combat hard suits use a dual-layer system to protect the wearer. The inner layer consists of fabric armor with kinetic padding. Areas that don't need to be flexible, such as the chest or shins, are reinforced with sheets of lightweight, ablative ceramic. The outer layer consists of automatically generated kinetic barriers. Objects traveling above a certain speed will trigger the barrier's reflex system and be deflected, provided there is enough energy left in the shield's power cell. Armored hard suits are sealable to protect the wearer from extremes of temperature and atmosphere. Standard equipment includes an onboard mini-frame and a communications, navigation, and sensing suite. The mini-frame is designed to accept and display data from a weapon's smart targeting system to make it easier to locate and eliminate enemies.
The mini-map, basically.
Kinetic barriers, more commonly called shields, provide protection against most mass accelerator weapons. Whether on a starship or a soldier's suit of armor, the basic principle remains the same. Kinetic barriers are repulsive mass effect fields, projected from tiny emitters. These shields safely deflect small objects traveling at rapid velocities. This affords protection from bullets and other dangerous projectiles, but still allows the user to sit down without knocking away their chair. The shielding afforded by kinetic barriers does not protect against extremes of temperature, toxins, or radiation.
Yes. Protection against high-velocity heavy metal poisoning, also known as being shot at.
A mass accelerator propels a solid metal slug using precisely controlled electromagnetic attraction and repulsion. The slug is designed to squash or shatter on impact, increasing the energy it transfers to the target. If this were not the case, it would simply punch a hole right through, doing minimal damage. Accelerator design was revolutionized by Element Zero. A slug lightened by a mass effect field can be accelerated to greater speeds, permitting projectile velocities that were previously unattainable. If accelerated to a high enough velocity, a simple paint chip can impact with the same destructive force as a nuclear weapon. However, mass accelerators produce recoil equal to their impact energy. This is mitigated somewhat by the mass effect fields that rounds are suspended within. But weapon recoil is still the prime limiting factor on slug velocity. All modern infantry weapons, from pistols to assault rifles, use micro-scaled mass accelerator technology. Projectiles consist of tiny metal slugs suspended within a mass-reducing field, accelerated by magnetic force to speeds that inflict kinetic damage. The ammo magazine is a simple block of metal. The gun's internal computer calculates the mass needed to reach the target based on distance, gravity, and atmospheric pressure, then shears off an appropriate-sized slug from the block. A single block can supply thousands of rounds, making ammo a non-issue during any engagement. Top-line weapons also feature smart targeting that allows them to correct for weather and environment. Firing on a target in a howling gale feels the same as it does on a calm day at the practice range. Smart targeting does not mean a bullet will automatically find the mark every time the trigger is pulled. It only makes it easier for the marksman to aim.
There you go. It's not a I win button. Right, well, we've done all the easy stuff. Now we got the reading. Personal history of the T-Bringer. Born into a naval family, you spent your childhood on ships and stations. You moved from position to posting. See, I told you I was going to be rubbish at this. Posting to posting as your parents were reassigned. You enlisted in the Alliance military yourself on the day you turned 18, like a good little soldier that you are. You were on shore leave at Elysium when the first wave of the Skillian Blitz struck. A massive coalition force of slavers, criminal syndicates, and Batarian warlords attacked the human colony, determined to wipe it out. You rallied the civilian inhabitants, leading them in their desperate fight to hold off the invaders. When enemy troops broke through the colony's defences, you single-handedly held them off and sealed the breach like a badass. Rah. After hours of brutal fighting, reinforcements finally arrived and the enemy broke ranks and fled. Because of your actions, Elysium was saved, and you are regarded throughout the Alliance as a true hero. Because T-Bringer. And once you'd done all of that, and you had single-handedly carried the entire colony on your back like a boss, like a total carrier. Someone then supplied you with a cup of tea, and you were perfectly happy. That was it. Just now, if they'd supplied you with coffee, well, problems. Aliens, Council Races, Solarians, the League of One, which is some of the medals we're picking up from space. Before they joined the Council, the Solarians' most potent military tool was a small reconnaissance team known as the League of One. Their primary training was in espionage and assassination. Never more than a dozen strong, the team was adept at infiltrating the tightest defences and eliminating all necessary obstacles. We call them special forces, and also known as badasses. Only a few top members of government and military were privy to the League's identities. League members wore no distinguishing garments, held no particular rank. The only evidence of their participation in the League was a small medallion presented to each member upon induction. This secrecy was maintained until the formation of the Council. They probably went on to join the first Spectres. Or the STC. In an effort to dispel rumours and appease their new Asari partners, the Solarian Union released all classified documents pertaining to the League. The League of One was suddenly exposed and in danger of being hunted as enemies of the Solarian? Oh, hunted by enemies of the Solarians. Before any harm could be done, the team mysteriously disappeared. Most assumed this was a convenient lie to help hide their identities, but a few months later, the inner cabinet was murdered. Oh dear. Though there was no incriminating evidence, it was clear who was responsible. Whoops, you've gone and pissed the wrong people off. Realising the threat posed by this rogue outfit, the Special Tasks Group dispatched a team of hunters. When they didn't return, the STG dispatched 10 of its brightest operatives with broad discretionary power. Only 2 returned. They reported no evidence of the League. No further incidents were reported. It was assumed that the League was wiped out. Some recently declassified documents, however, have suggested there may have been a 13th member who eluded the Solarian military. Whoopsies! That's what happens when you have an elite group and you piss them off. Turians, the Unification War. Oh, I wish this could all be voiced. Yeah, of course it's not going to be voiced. There's too much of it. Right. At about the time the Solarians and Asari were forming the Council, Turians were embroiled in a bitter civil war. The Unification War. It was later named. Begin with hostilities between the colonies furthest from the Turian homeworld, Palaven. These colonies were run by local chieftains, many of whom had distanced themselves from the hierarchy. Without the galvanizing influence of the government, the colonies became increasingly isolated and xenophobic. Colonists began wearing emblems and facial markings to differentiate themselves from members of other colonies, and open hostilities became common. You went tribal. You went tribal. Good grief. Oh, that one has different markings. Get it? Yep. Sounds familiar. When war finally broke out, the hierarchy maintained strict diplomacy and refused to get involved. After several years of fighting, less than a dozen factions remained, and the hierarchy finally intervened. By that time, the chieftains were too weak to resist. They were forced to put an end to their fighting and renewed their allegiance to the hierarchy. So basically they just sat back, let them kill each other off, and then sweep in and pick up the remainders. Though peace was restored, it took several decades of animosity between colonists to fade completely. To this day, most Turians still wear the facial markings of their home colonies. As a point of interest, the Turian term barefaced refers to one who is beguiling or not to be trusted. It is also a slang term for politicians. Yup. Twisty-turny little shites, not to be trusted. Aliens, extinct race, Protheans, Sci-fi. Prothean Beacon downloaded its knowledge into Lieutenant Commander Shepard, Deeplinger, on Eden Prime, causing confusing dreams and visions. While the imagery is becoming clearer with time, the meaning of the beacon communication remains elusive. It has been suggested that Prothean data recording is highly dependent on a certain point of view. What Carl Jung described as a collective unconscious, the cipher needed to comprehend the images implanted in Commander Shepard's mind is the cultural knowledge of the Protheans, the archetypes, biological instincts, and common experiences universal to the race. Since the Protheans have been dead for millennia, it may be impossible to acquire this cipher. Yep. Sure. Protheans, data disks. Despite all the evidence confirming the existence of the Protheans, little is known about their culture and society. From time to time, dig sites will yield new clues, but after 50,000 years of decay, little of value is unearthed. Recent research was focused on the discovery of Prothean data disks. On their own, they are frail and rarely found in one piece. Occasionally, however, an intact disk will be discovered within a console or reading device. To date, over 36 disks have been recovered, and a few of those have been restored to the point where researchers can begin analysing them. Though it may be some time before scientists discover a way to transfer the data off the disks, they are currently considered the most tangible leads of learning more about the Prothean culture. Right. Sounds positively enlightening. Totally won't have any relevance later on. Oh, good God. Okay. Well, that was my armrest. Hold on. Wait a minute. Crunch that back in place. Don't worry. It's supposed to do that. Geth armatures. Armatures are quadruped, all-terrain, heavy weapons platforms, still suffering from flashlight head. Akin to the armoured fighting vehicles of other races, Geth being synthetic intelligences, armatures are not crude vehicles, but intelligent entities capable of independent decision-making and learning. Armatures are equipped with heavy kinetic barriers, their main cannon mounted on an articulated head turret appears to be a highly efficient conventional mass accelerator. Appears to be a highly efficient conventional mass accelerator. It is capable of firing in anti-personnel and anti-tank modes. Some armatures carry drones into battle, presumably for reconnaissance purposes. Others host a swarm of insect-sized repair microbots. Geth hoppers, also known as those jumpy buggers. The Geth models, collectively dubbed hoppers by Alliance forces, are electronic warfare. They can project electromagnetic radiation across a broad spectrum as an offensive weapon. They can also perform cyber warfare attacks against the onboard computers of body armor, hardsuits, and weapons, adversely affecting their performance, also known as sabotage ability. Which is why sometimes, if you're really unlucky, you're fighting them and then suddenly your weapon overheats. The structure of hoppers consists of an advanced and highly elastic artificial muscle material. This allows a hopper to compress its entire body for powerful leaps. Okay, yep. Hoppers also have thousands of micro-scale barbs on the surface of their hands and feet, which are used to cling to walls and ceilings. Hoppers are very difficult targets, leaping from one surface to another in rapid succession. In essence, they got gecko hands and feet. Aquarians have no record of any Geth models similar to hoppers. This new morph type must have been developed over the last 300 years by the Geth themselves. This is troubling proof that the Geth are continuing to move towards technological singularity. Experts in synthetic life are intrigued that hoppers appear to be even more organic than the baseline Geth. That is true, you can just see muscle structures, or look like muscle structures anyway. The identified subtypes of hopper have been codenamed Sapper, Stalker, and Ghost. Oh, that's nice. That's how big is this? Is this a long one? Oh God. Krogan, genophage. I've got 45 seconds to read it, so it's not going to happen. I'm going to go over slightly. Right. The genophage bioweapon was created to end the Krogan rebellions. From the start, the Krogan had overwhelmed the Council. Only timely first contact with the Turians saved the Council races. The Turians fought the Krogan to a standstill, but sheer weight of Krogan numbers indicate the war could not be won through conventional means. The Turians collaborated with the Solarians to genetically engineer a counter to the rapid breeding of the Krogan. The genophage virus gained the energy to replicate by eating key genetic sequences. Every cell in every Krogan had to be altered for the weapon to be foolproof. Otherwise, the Krogan could have used gene therapy to fix the afflicted tissue. Once a genophage strain could find no more genes to eat, it would starve and die, limiting spin-off mutation and contamination. This created genetic flaw is hereditary. The Solarians believed the genophage could be used as a deterrent, a position the Turians viewed as naive. Once the project was completed, the Turians mass-produced and deployed it. The Krogan homeworld, their colonies, and all occupied worlds were infected. The resulting mutation made only 1 in 1,000 Krogan pregnancies carry to term. It did not reduce fertility, but offspring viability. Rare females able to carry children to term became prizes the Krogan warlords fought brutal battles over. Yep. There's probably a really bad way of going about it. Krogan are a shadow of their former glory. While the rebellions took place centuries ago, they are constantly reminded of the horror of the genophage and their inability to counter it. The release of the genophage is still controversial, bitterly debated in many circles. And with that, we reach the end of reading time with JC. Next week, more reading. Sorry. But, I mean, we've got all of this to go. And then it'll just be grabbing whatever new stuff pops up each time. I should have done this, started this 2 or 3 weeks ago. Probably. But, oh well. And so, on that note, thank you for watching. Until next time, this is JC, out.